privilege of having our Director General, Helena Vieira, among us, to whom I will give the floor to open the session. Please, Helena.
Thank you, Paula, for starting this webinar. First of all, I would like to welcome everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Helena Vieira. I'm the Director General of Maritime Policy from the Ministry of the Sea. And I would just like to thank the team, the EA Grants team, for organizing this webinar, which is for Call 5, Education. And this call is supported by the Blue Growth Program of the EA Grants. This is a very important program for education and literacy to support blue entrepreneurship and training of the next generation to value the ocean. I will now just pass the floor to the DGPM EA Grants team, Sandra Silva, the head of the programming department, Mafalda Matos, the team leader of the Programming and Monitoring Unit, and the remaining members of the team, which I'm sure most of you already know, Paula Madeira, who just opened the event, Katia Afonso, who will be moderating and is always answering your emails and questions, and Catarina Correia, also helping the team. So I wish you all a great webinar. I won't be able to stay until the end, but any questions, I'm sure that my Wonder team will be able to answer. So have a great webinar, everyone. Thanks.
Hello, everyone. So I will share my presentation with you. Just give me a moment, please. Please let me know if you are seeing my presentation.
Yeah, all good.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. So, the call number 5 is the call regarding education, and this call has two main objectives. The first objective is to finance projects that regards to improve skills and competence in marine and maritime issues throughout education and training. It has also a second main objective regarding the establish and strengthen the cooperation between Portugal and the donor states, namely Norway, Iceland, and Liechtenstein. In this call, we have these four main education priorities. It ranges from elementary school to university level and also includes professional degrees. It also aims to cooperation partnerships between education, research, and business. We also would like to achieve traineeships, apprenticeships, and work placements, and also professional development of teachers and lecturers is included in this call. And at least in the last one is the higher education student and staff mobility between Iceland, Liechtenstein, and Norway, and Portugal. This is considered a relevant issue. Our program has several outcomes to achieve according to the program areas. And in this particular area, the main outcome is education, training, and cooperation in marine and maritime issues in ANSET. And it would like to achieve 50 SCTS credits received by students in mobility projects. We'd like also to achieve 12 joint intellectual outputs created in cooperation projects, like studies, curricula, teaching materials, conference papers, etc. And also 120 participants who will self-declare improved skills and competencies after the courses. The thematic areas under this call are the following ones: new courses in maritime affairs, professional internship programs for SMEs, multidisciplinary postgraduate programs, summer schools, intensive programs, training courses, and students, trainees, teachers, and lecturers exchange and scholarship. It means physical or virtually, since we are in this new approach regarding the pandemic COVID. We would like to give you some examples what we would like to are expected from the projects to be submitted under this call. For instance, provide platforms for digital learning and also for onboard training of seafarers required to perform tasks under the standards of the International Convention on Standards of Training. Other example could be education and training can be designed in the context of existing or ongoing research projects between Portuguese and Iceland, Liechtenstein and Norway entities to regarding maximize cooperation between these entities. For instance, also we can have exchange programs to be supported under Master of PhD programs already taken place. And for instance, scholarship can be included into projects related to other activities. 1/6 of the previous lists that I give you regarding the thematic areas, or as an isolated activity. So, regarding what I've been presenting, there are some requests for clarification that we have been received. Some questions, and one of them is my project under the thematic areas of the call? Of course, when we receive this clarification, we need to analyze the scope of the project, and we will answer if it is under the scope of the call. Other question that we usually have been received is if a project can be under the scope of more than one thematic areas. And yes, in particular, you can have a main thematic area that you focus your project, but you can also have a project that are under the more than one thematic areas. In this call, the total amount available is 1,550,000 euros, and it is expected that the projects will receive the minimum of 200,000 euros and the maximum of 250,000 euros. And it is expected that the maximum duration of the projects should be more or less 2 years. The grant rate of this call is at the maximum funding rate of 90%. This will be defined regarding the state aid rules, and between this call we will apply the minimis head state rules. And in this call we can also have the exception for applications of state aid rules. For instance, if the economic activities carried out by the entity are secondary, this is, they have a weight of less than 20% of the total activity. And we also must bearing in mind if the project has some kind of economic benefits. This is if there are expected to be generated in the course of the project as a result of receiving a financial contribution. So another question that is very used to be that we received is what is the funding rate of my project? And this, as I explained, is regarding the stated rules, and this must be assessed regarding the entity that is proposing the application. In this call, we have defined the eligibility of the project promoters and the project partners. So the promoter can be any public or private entity, commercial or non-commercial, and non-governmental organization established as a legal person in Portugal. is considered an eligible project promoter. Natural persons, single persons, are not eligible, and each promoter may submit only one application. Regarding the partners, it also can be any public or private entity, commercial or non-commercial, as well as non-governmental organization, established as a legal person either in Portugal or in donor states, as well as vet institutions in Switzerland with a specific cooperation agreement with Liechtenstein, and Swiss universities regarding students of Liechtenstein nationality. Another frequent questions is if my organization is considered an eligible promoter, and if you fulfill the request that I mentioned before, you can be an eligible promoter as well as an eligible partner. You only can submit one application, but as a partner, you can submit more than one application and be part of several projects. After the submission of the applications, the selection and decision procedures will go throughout two main phases. The first phase will be the administrative and the eligibility criteria check. If all documents are being submitted with the application, if you are an eligible promoter and partner, if you submit within the time of the deadline of the call, this, if your project is under the scope of the call, are the main subjects that we appreciate regarding this first phase admissibility. And then the applications that pass this first phase will go to the second phase, and this will be regarding the quality selection of your projects. As it is established in the call, each application will be scored on a scale of between 0 and 100 points, according to the evaluation criteria that are also established in the call. And the applications will be assessed by two impartial experts. At least one of them is independent and is external for the program operator. And in the cases that the difference between the scores given by these two experts is higher than 30% of the highest score, we need to call a third expert to appraisal the project. And in the end, we will have a consolidated assessment that will be the result of the average of the scores awarded by the experts, and we will provide a consensus report with the final decision. Also in this stage, if one project will score lower than 50 points, this project will not be selected for awarded granting. And the applications that have sufficiently quality, this is more than 50 points, but cannot receive a grant because of the threshold of the funding available. So these projects should be put in a ranked reserve list. And at the end of this process, the projects will go to a selection committee that will review the ranking list, examine and compare the consensus reports, and confirm the consistency of the scores. This selection committee may decide to change the final score with a duty justification and submit the list of recommended projects to the program operator for the final decision. As you know, we have our website when we have all the information regarding this call and where you should submit your applications, and remind that the deadline will be the 11th of December 2020. So I think we can now go to the section of the questions and answers in order to provide you clarifications that you bring to us today. And we have here the many forms that you have to contact us when you have some questions and doubts by email, by phone, or in the site of the Blue Growth program.
Sandra, before we go to questions and answers period, I'd like to invite Frank Mo from DQ to make his presentation.
Oh, of course. Sorry, Frank.
Okay. Take the floor, Frank, please. Hello.
Should I start?
Yes,
That's good. Okay, I will try to get my presentation. Can you hear me well?
Yes.
Yes.
Right. Let me see. Let me see. Sorry. There we are. So, okay, just a minute. I'll just find. There we are. So, can you see my presentation now?
Yes, it's fine.
Yes, that's fine. Okay. So, my name is Frank Mo. I represent DQ in Norway. And in the following approximately 10 minutes, I don't know why it stops. I'm not sure why. I'm not sure why at all. Hopefully it will work. Okay, so I represent DQ in Norway, and in the following approximately 10 minutes, I will try to explain who we are, what we do, and something about the Norwegian education. And I will remind you that there's similar things for Iceland and Liechtenstein, although I represent Norway in this case.
Excuse me, Frank, can you expand your put in a presentation form, please? Okay, thank you.
So there we are. Okay.
Okay.
So fine. So DQ, the Directorate for International Cooperation and Quality Enhancement in Higher Education, a very heavy name. We are the agency that handles more or less all of the programs and initiatives connected to international cooperation in education in Norway. In addition to a number of other activities within the Norwegian education sector. So if you see the steps here, it's all of the education sector totally. The tasks that we have, sorry, there we are. The tasks that we have are more or less, by tradition, we do internationalization in education. So we are the agency for Erasmus+. We work with EA grants, and we work with many other programs, many nationally financed programs. In addition, we do promotion of digitalization in education. There was another agency that merged with then CU, now DQ. We promote cooperation projects in education, both internationally and nationally. And we also, in some of the projects, some of the programs, we do the financial support through various of these programs. And not least, we are a competence center for the authorities and the whole education sector. So we have a development and research department that deals with these things. So in this call, as you saw already from Sandra's presentation, it more or less covers the whole of the education sector, from primary school to higher education institutions. So this very easy to read picture shows the Norwegian education system, and you will see that in total everything is encompassed. So we go from kindergarten to higher education, and basically from cradle to grave, as it is called, because you can you can study until you die, actually. So everything is this is the illustration that is in, for those of you who know this, the diploma supplement in higher education. So this is the how we describe the system. If you look at it, you will see when you study it, you can study it afterwards, that we have a primary education, which takes 10 years. Primary education is compulsory in Norway, so everybody has to do at least these 10 years. Then you have 3 years of upper secondary education, judging by the way you go through it, you may spend 4 years because you can rethink and do something else, but generally it's 3 years. This is not compulsory, but everyone in Norway has a right to receive 3 years of education at this level. So most of the Norwegian youngsters, they start, but we have, as all other countries, we have a dropout problem as well. So there are a number of routes leading through. For instance, if you start with vocational education, you have to do a turn to be able to go and study in higher education institutions. And then we have in higher education, we use the standard Bologna model, 3 + 2 + 3, with some modifications. There are some study programs that are comprehensive and not divided in that sense. So adult education, if you look to the far right, there are some boxes, and this you can take in any part. And adult education, as in general, of course, is also often non-formal. And in Norway, we have used non-formal background as an entry into higher education for about 25 years now. So it's been really well established, and you can even have exemption into higher education programs like bachelor's. So in the University Act, there are no limitations to the amount of exemptions, but to be fair, it's more in principle than in practice. And when we talk about vocational education in Norway, we normally talk about upper secondary level. The vocations in higher education, like nursing or whatever, we normally term as professional studies. For you, you see a small box out here. There is what we call a tertiary vocational education. It's a kind of special thing. In Norway, it's called fagskole. Those of you who know German will say Fachschule. And this is vocational education, which is above upper secondary level, but not formally higher education. But it may be very interesting for you because many of these are very strong in maritime education. So it can be a very good opportunity to have partnership with them. So what is DQ? We are a donor program partner, as called DPP in education, which basically means we inform about and we promote the EEA grants in general to the Norwegian educational sector. In addition, we assist the program operators like Sandra and others in the beneficiary countries of the program. And not least, we try to assist potential program promoters, you in the audience, in finding Norwegian partners. We do quite a lot more, but this is the most important part for Europe. So if you want to do a project within this program, you want to contact potential partners, there are some rules you should follow. One of them is present a reasonably clear picture of the project or activity. In this, I do not mean that you should have the whole project finished and just sort of get a signature at the bottom of page 4, but you should know what you're looking for. When you try to inquire, when you send an inquiry, whether we forward it or you send it directly, as I will just mention shortly, It should be clear. You should be very clear about what are you looking for. It should be comprehensive. That means you should have a clear view of, is this, what does it entail? It should be tempting, so that the potential partner will sort of want to join you, and it should not be too long, not with 40 pages of attachments or anything. When I said it should be reasonably clear but not finished, it should be a project that where you invite the Norwegian or Icelandic or whoever partner to be involved in developing the project. So that's not just a signature, but it's also part of the development. Now the deadline is already in just a few weeks, so the next point is not that valid anymore. But send your inquiry as early as possible. Don't wait. We have throughout the years had many requests. Okay, we have this project. There's a deadline in 2 days. Can you sign? Not very good way of getting project partners. And you should also try to find the right people. In the next slide, I will give you some ideas about how you can do this, so that you don't just, as we say in Norway, shout in the forest, just, oh, we want partners, but try to find potential partners. So generally, our recommendation there is do your homework, do something about this before. You can spend some hours trying to figure out the institutions, potential institutions in Norway. It's not impossible. And we always also recommend, I will not go into it here, but in the eagrants.org pages, you will find this partnership guide, which is a very good way of working through this. So where do you begin? Especially the normal thing would be, do you have previous project partners, either in EEA grants, in Erasmus Plus or whatever? Do you have anything going on that you can start and try to do something else with research or education project or whatever? And I will also recommend to you, if you want to do a project in higher education, there is a website called Study in Norway, which actually DQ owns, where you will find a list of all the institutions, and there are also lists of bachelor and master programs. All the institutions in Norway and probably Iceland have extensive information in English at their websites, so it's possible to find, the dean of the faculty or the dean of the department that you want to find. At the secondary level, there is a web page called Vil bli, basically means want to become something, and it gives you an overview of all upper secondary education in Norway, and you can have it in English, so that's possible to find actually institutions concretely that you want to contact. The one that shows the whole Norwegian education system is Utdanning, and unfortunately this is only in Norwegian, but if you have a Norwegian nearby, a Dane, a Swede can help you, then you can use this as well to try to filter your searches. And as the last slide, just to say something also about DIKU's role for Norwegian partners. There are some in the audience, I think. Generally, it's the same. We inform about the EEA grants in general, and in Portugal in particular in this case. We can try to assist at least in finding partners in Portugal. Not that we are very much into the Portuguese system, but we can sort of forward inquiries if you want to do something. And it's important for Norwegian or Icelandic side here, even though it's the Portuguese partner who must send the application, you can take the initiative if you want. So it's not forbidden. You just have to sit and wait for somebody to call you. So we can also assist you in explaining and clarifying rules and regulations. Even though you may have some experience maybe from Erasmus Plus, EEA grants a little different, and each country a little different again. So we may help you, clarify what is expected. And throughout the project, we can follow up and we can help to solve any problem that may occur. As a general advice to you, we say, be an active partner. Don't just sit there and let the others do the work, but try to sort of influence the project and be active. So I advise you to look into diku.no or eeagrants.org, where you will find much more information both about our role and so. And I will hang in here for the rest of the day to be hopefully answer any questions that you may have in the chat or whatever. So thank you.
Thank you, Frank, very much for your presentation. I think it was very nice to clarify some questions regarding how can we bring a partnership entity from Norway. DIKU is a program partner from our Blue Growth program, but we also have a program partner from Iceland. This is Ranish, and they also can help you to find project partners in Iceland if you would like so. And yes, it is very important, and if you are looking for a project partner, to at least have an abstract of the project or the intentions and the main objectives in order to help to find what could be the best partner in your projects. Before we start to answer the particular questions that we have been receiving that you have been writing, and the others that you can put raising your hands. One question that you already put here is if it is mandatory to have a project partner from the donor states. It is not mandatory, but as you see in my presentation, one of the main objectives is to strengthen the bilateral relations between national entities and entities from the donor states. And as you can see in the selection criteria, the projects that bring project partners from Norway, Iceland, or Liechtenstein will be more scored. But it's not mandatory in this call specifically. So I will give the floor to my colleagues, Katja, Katarina, and Mafalda, to start to answer the questions that have been raised here in our messages.
Thank you, Sandra. Hello, everyone. We have several questions on our chat, but if you want to speak and not write, you may raise your hand, okay? And we will give you the floor. First, we are going to the questions. So, João Carlos Ferreira, he is asking, what is the overheads percentage? Mafalda, can you answer, please?
The overheads, it's 20, well, we have several methods of calculating the overheads. So if you look into the regulation, if you from the grants regulation.
Please, everyone, turn off your mics, please.
There are several, you can go from 15% to 25%. Katja, can you explain a little bit better, please?
Yes, I can. You have several types of projects, and that types will define the percentage of your project as well. If you are an entity that have 100% of state aid rules, right, Mafalda?
I'm sorry.
If it's a fundamental research, you have 100%.
Not in research. Not in research, in education.
Oh, sorry.
I think we are.
I'm going to
talking about
myself.
Overheads. We are talking about overheads. So this is indirect costs methodology that we can. The projects can select one of these four methodologies. So the first one, this is in the regulation for the mechanism. If you have an analytic accountability, you can bring your rate of the indirect costs certified by an external auditor. If you have, you can also have 50% of the human resources costs that you put in your budget. This is directly from the 50% of the human resources costs that you achieved in the project budget. You can also have 25% rate of the indirect costs, but in this case you have a form in the application form that you need to fill and to understand what will be the higher rates that you can achieve at the most of 25%. And in the last methodology is if you have been supported in other kinds of projects, for instance, the European funds, that you have been supported with some kind of rate of indirect costs. You should give us an example of these projects that should be similar to this one that you are presented, and we will analyze if this could be the same rate to be applied. I don't know if I answered the questions regarding the overheads. It is clear enough.
Yes, let's just say sorry for myself. I was confusing two calls, so sorry everyone. I'm looking at the calls of research, so sorry, but Sandra did right. She answered right. Let's go to another question. Monica Pedro. Monica, do you want to step in? Monica Pedro?
Yeah, hi.
Hi, Monica.
Hi.
Hello.
I was wondering if we have financial revenues like a fee from a course, should we discount on the overall financing?
Yes, because it's like I explained before, the grant rate also will be defined according if you expect to have any kind of fees, for instance, for some kind of training or courses or wherever. So this is an income that we will have throughout the implementation of the project. And we are talking about the implementation phase of the project. Yeah. So you must retrieve this value from the eligible expenditures, and we cannot count on this to support as a grant, okay?
Okay, but so I can do the calculations. Imagine that I have a fee and I could have like 20K, so I could have a bigger budget and consider this as auto financing of the project?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
Okay, so we are going to go back, and Sandra, Jorge Graça is asking for the overhead. He did not understand everything you said, in particular the 25%.
Okay, this is more complicated because we are not seeing the form that you have in the application form. But in the application form, you have a part of the form that is regarding this methodology if you choose this one. This means that you need to put some calculations of your overheads from the previous year. For instance, what did the entity spend on electricity, phones, well, all of these kind of current expenses. And then you must choose one methodology also that is in this form. And when you apply this kind of this methodology, the form will give you the maximum of rate that you could ask for the indirect costs. Because this is a way to see how reasonable is the indirect costs rate applied to a project regarding the costs that this entity has as indirect costs in the organization.
Thank you, Sandra. Dulce Lopes, can you step in, please?
Hi.
Hi, Dulce.
Hi. Some of the questions were already answered, but anyway, in what regards to 10% that is not eligible, I asked how can it be supported by the partner? Either in, for instance, human resources, does it have really to be a budgetary allocation? Could it be administrative? Is there specific rules on that? And should we characterize this 10% in a very precise way?
I'm sorry, I was hearing you very poorly. Regarding the 10%, the non-eligible 10% of the project, that must be assured by a promoter or partner.
Yes.
Okay, so you have to find the funding yourself. Okay, so for the total cost of the project, we only finance 90%.
That is understood. The question is, how can we prove
with your own funds from your institution or
human resources allocation, for instance? Human resources allocation, for instance?
I'm not quite following your question, Dulce. I'm sorry. The question is the 10%. What we will ask you is a declaration that you have the remaining 10% in order to complete your project. Okay? It's strictly financial.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dulce. Next, Mauricio Junior.
Yes, hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
This is related to the forms, and actually many questions are already being answered. So we already know there's no principal investigator, so you don't need that. In the previous call, there was a 40% cap on the funding for the donor partner. So there is no cap right now, so the donor partner can be up to 50% or 60%. That's one question. Second question, and then you can answer both. In the other call, we had a guideline for applicants form. I haven't been able to find one here, so I wonder if that's available or not. So two questions. Again, the one is there a cap on the participation for our partners? And the second one is about this form, the guideline. Did you hear me?
Yes. We have you can use our main guideline for this call. Mauricio, that's on documents, both in English and Portuguese. Regarding, I will ask Sandra, but I believe there's no cap for this call.
No, this call was not establishing any threshold that the donor project partners could bring in a budget for the project. But of course, you should bearing in mind that the main focus of the grant of our program is to support national entities to provide new education and training on Portugal, of course, and it must be a reasonable balance between this budget. Of course, it depends the activities that which one brings in between the projects. But the answer you ask is no. There is no limit for the budget for the donor project partners.
All right, got it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Another one, Paulo Dias. Can you step in, please?
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, so good afternoon. I have a question regarding the ECTS. Is it mandatory to have them? And also if the 50 that you talk about is for each individual proposal or for the whole program?
This is for the whole program. It is not, answer the first question, it is not mandatory to fulfill this kind of indicator in this target. Each project will contribute a part to achieving the program, at the end of the program, these 50 HCTS. But of course, if your project will contribute for this indicator, you should present in the application form, in the outcomes indicators of the application form, from which outcomes indicators you will contribute with your project. And as you see in the selection criteria, one of the selection criteria is how much your project will contribute between the scope of the call to the objectives of the call and also to the outcomes and outputs of the project, the program. So this will be important to you identify in which way each project will contribute for each indicators of outputs and outcomes of the program.
Okay, for instance, if we don't have it yet, and the process can be a little bit long, could at least the intention or the steps that we are going to do for the certification and providing the ECTS also be a contribution factor, or simply just need, if we have the ECTS already in place, it would be better?
If you don't have already this in place, you can preview what will be when you have this established. So there is no mandatory for this. So you can put an estimation, for instance, and if the project will be approved, we will monitoring the project and we will ask for the achievements of these outputs and outcomes indicators throughout implementation of the project. And at the end of the project, we will certify what really was achieved with the implementation of the project.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Thank you, Paulo. So Stefania, I think from Iceland, right? Stefania, are you there?
Hi.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello. You
Sorry.
You put a question on the chat?
Yeah.
Can you name example of a project on lower school levels? The focus of your presentation is mostly on higher education.
Yeah, we're just because we're wondering if lower school levels like primary schools or secondary schools could apply for projects as well.
Yes, they can. Yes, they can.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, that was fast.
But do they need to have a partnership with a higher institution or a research center or?
No. Please, Katia.
Yes, I was. The promoter must be always Portuguese, so it can be an education institute or not. Okay.
It doesn't have to be a higher education institute in Portugal or no. Okay.
No.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Thank you. Ricardo Neta, you have your hand raised.
Yes, so I have two questions. One is mainly about max funding rate, including indirect costs. So we talk on the that we have a max funding rate of 90%.
Yes.
Does this include the indirect costs, or are they? Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So, and what is the rate for each company. So let's say for a company, for a university, and for a school, how are these rates calculated?
Regarding state aid rules, is that your question?
Yes.
The question is the state aid rules. We are applying de minimis. So as we apply de minimis, we will grant a maximum of 200K in 3 years to each promoter or partner. So the cap is 200K per promoter or partner.
Yes,
in the last 3 years, because if you have any de minimis, if you received any de minimis funding in the last 3 years, we will discount that.
And you have, right, Ricardo?
Yes, exactly.
You do.
We talked this week.
Exactly. The main thing is we haven't maxed out our minimis, so we have space to include the minimis for this project there. My main issue is, do we count on 90% of the eligible costs to be funded by the project? Are the 90% funded, or is it, as in some prior projects, 75%, 80%, according to?
We only, as we apply de minimis, we only have a rate of 90%.
Okay. So, but in this case, we have the 90%, but the indirect costs are taken into consideration on the human resources. For instance, if we take into account 15% of the human resources that we use, and we have a 90% tax rate on everyone, the indirect costs will end up being left out because it's additional.
No, I think it is some kind of misunderstanding here regarding indirect costs and grant rate. It's nothing to, well, you have a budget. With direct costs of the project, human staff, travel costs, equipment, and another kind of goods or services acquisition, okay? And then you have the indirect costs that you will choose what methodology you will apply, and this will be eligible also. So you have a total budget with all of these. And your total eligible budget will be, for instance, 100, okay? And we will grant you 90%, we will grant you 90,100 euros. So, and this will be, then we will look this following. As Ricardo Neto already received some kind of supported grant in the previous programs or previous financing, and in the minimis state aids rules, we will check in a platform that we have assessed, and we see, well, this company has already achieved 200,000 euros. So I can't give you the total amount that you are applying for, but I also can give you the difference between what we were asking for and the 200Ks that you are in the limit, you know? So I don't know if I explain well, but
that part, the minimis part, I understand it perfectly. So we have in several other projects, and it's the only thing is, if we put a cap on the 90% max funding rate, and we say that every expense has a 90% eligible, the indirect costs are an additional to this, and when we do the accounting on the Excel, we end up with the max funding rate over 90%. Maybe it's better for me to send the Excel or something.
Yes.
I was going to
I think the confusion is when you calculate, for instance, you calculate 50% of your human resources, okay, and it gives you the value. This is the eligible value, and then for this value you will apply the 90% of the grant.
Exactly.
Okay, and this will be the total amount of your budget and you should not be more asked than the 250K that is the limit of financing for each project. These are only the limits in here. And then we go to the minimum heights and we see case by case what is the situation of its company or SMEs or wherever. But as you asked in the beginning, if this will not be applied to all entities, because if you are an entity exemption for the stated rules, for instance, a public entity that is not in a competition market, so we will not apply the stated minimums and we can give the total amount of maximum until the 250K of grant.
Okay, so that's perfect. My second question was, since this is an educational call and we are a company, do we need to be certified to provide any type of courses or anything like this? We will be the promoters, but we would like to understand if we could be the promoters and not be a certified institution, educational institution.
Mafalda, queres? Do you want?
I'm sorry. I think the company itself doesn't have to be certified, but if you want to give training, I don't know what the scope of your project is, but if those obviously those new courses must be certified by the.
Yeah. Actually, they're not courses. So basically, it's a technical formation that is given by the company to our partners, which are university and schools that end up, we work in collaboration and we have.
Okay. So I guess if you want to give a certified formation, the ones who give that formation must be certified.
Okay.
Okay, so you have to have qualified staff to do that.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, but do actually in that case it means that the formation could only be given by a teacher, by a university, something like that.
That depends. What formation are you?
This is a boat manufacturing formation. So it's very hard to have a university teacher giving lectures on boat manufacturing.
What can I suggest you? Once that kind of formation is certified by the Ministry of Education, why don't you try to contact ANQEP?
Okay.
ANQEP. ANQ.
Yes.
ANQEP. Sim. There's the entity that's.
We have a part of our course that's certified. So the professional course is certified. The university is within a certified course, but the technical component within the company, and it's that interconnection that we are trying to give here, it's a technical part that's within the company. So it's not a course by itself.
But
it's a workshop, let's say.
Well, of course, yes, this is the difference, because one thing is you have some kind of specification, a technical course that you want to develop and then certify this, but now you need to follow the rules of the Ministry of Education, of course. So if you want to develop a course and then you need to certify it, can be seen as a training or education course. Otherwise, it will not be an education or training course formally. And also the people that will give these courses must be certified to do so. Otherwise, you never be able to certify all the people that will be participating in this course. So it is not a rule of our program. It's a rule of our Ministry of Education throughout training and training courses and educational courses. Okay.
Yes, I think the best way to go about it is as if there were internships within the course. We in the company, we give internships, and this could be a way to go about it. Instead of having a formation, it's a type of internship. But yeah, that's a bit too specific to be discussed here. So I think I'll I'll share my time. Thank you.
I also to just since you are this, I would like to call your attention that we will have next year a specific call to training on jobs, okay, regarding the business area. And this could be explored regarding this kind of projects. I'm not saying this is not in the scope of this, what we are discussing now, but I just informed that it is predicted for the next year to be launched a call regarding training on jobs in a business programmatic area. So then you can explore also this possibility.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Monica Pedro?
Hi, me again. Since after my question, some questions were about indirect costs. I wonder, since my company is a young company, we don't have a track record to identify the indirect costs. Can I apply without indirect costs? Is that obliged to have?
No, it is not. You can apply your budget without any kind of indirect costs. It is not mandatory to put in this in your budget, but you can apply with the methodology of the 50% of the human resources, because in these cases we don't have any kind of will ask you for any kind of documentation, expenditure proofs, or nothing. It's just 50% of the human resources budget that you allocate in the project.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Ricardo Rojas? Ricardo? I think
I'm Gustavo. Hello?
Hello?
Yes, you can.
Yeah, yes, you can put your question, please.
Okay, it's Gustavo.
Sorry for the mistake, yes.
No problem, but I recognize the surname. No, it's already answered. It was the same question as Paulo's about the expected outcomes, if it would be for the whole program or just on project. So it has been already been answered, but let me put another question, if possible, regarding the entities that will be, I work for a NGO, and we have a partner in Norway, which is a university, but we work with primary education, so we are well covered, but we don't have any partners yet on the business side. Is it mandatory to have a partner in the business area, or just schools and NGOs and universities would be enough for a proposal?
Yes, it will. Yes, it will be enough. You don't have to. You don't have to have a business partner in this call.
Great. Okay. Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Vanessa Batista, are you there? Can you step in? Okay.
Yeah. Hi.
Hello.
I think my question was just answered before when you explained the outputs and the outcomes of the project and the program and the difference. Because my question is that if in the project we have to fulfill, or which are the outcomes that the minimum outcomes that we have to fulfill, but as far as I understand, the ones that are in the call. That has the science courses, I think 20, and 500 people to be involved is for all the program and not for each one of the projects. Is that right?
Exactly.
Okay,
yes.
So it's clear now. Thank you.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. Gonçalo Zanha?
Hello.
Hello.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for this webinar. I had just one question regarding the project outcomes, which is if we are providing, let's say, professional training or professional development, such as traineeships and courses and etc., does the certification need to be acknowledged in both countries, let's say Portugal and one of the donor countries, or is it okay if the certification is only acknowledged in one of the countries?
Well, I would say they to work in both countries, it must be certified in all of countries.
Okay, so
but that for instance, in Norway, you must comply with the Norwegian rules. So if they demand certification, you have to get it.
So if
the same thing.
Yeah, so if these traineeships or professional development, if they offer ECTSs, in principle, it should be all right because it's something that's European-wide. Okay, my other question is if it's training that we're doing in both Portugal and in Norway, so split between the two countries. And this question is for Diku. I'm not sure if Diku would be our starting point to figure out whether this training would be acknowledged by Norway, or how would we go about it?
Yes, I will ask help for Frank now. Please, can you help me and give us the expertise and the examples that you have in the other projects?
I can try anyway, but I think it's difficult to answer if I don't know what you're doing, what you're supposed to do. So basically, if you do some kind of training or formal thing, it will be in connection or you will have some kind of institution as your partner, and it will be them who will decide whether this is acceptable or not. What we can do, if it's open, we can of course try to evaluate and see what's the problem. But otherwise, it's the institution that you work with that can do this.
One question: DICO is only for formal education, as in school education up to university, or does it also professional training and certification?
We do work with some institutions that do professional, but this depends. It's more on the formal side. That's right. What we have and the programs that we have.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you all. Len, sorry. Are you there? Len Mary, I think.
Yes, I'm here.
Yes.
I have, my question was actually answered in the chat, but I was just wondering, since it's not a long time to the deadline, it's already like in beginning of December. And I was just wondering how you go about to finding partners and where we can find out what Portugal actually wants, and if there's anything there we can join. I'm from Norway, by the way, because we do have schools in the maritime sector that's interested in projects, but it needs to be relevant for them. So where can we find what educational institution in Portugal want, and if there's anything there we can join? I was informed now about this app, so I had a look at that. It only presents the organizations, not actually what they're looking for. So I was just wondering if there is anywhere we can find out.
So, Lena, We can. I think we can give you some help with that. We can give you some contacts from. I don't know if you want a vet school or higher education university.
We're not a university. We're a vet schools, upper secondary schools. Yeah.
Okay. So in the sea area, we have a main we have a main school. Instituto de Tecnologias do Mar. That's in Portuguese. I know it's a little bit hard to hear for you. So, but I will be glad to send you the email, the contact. And also in level 4 certification, we have a higher education school that's in Leeds. I don't know if you're interested in cooperating with them.
Yeah, I'm just speaking on behalf of these schools that I've been in contact with. So I don't know exactly what they are looking for, but we're just looking into like opportunities, of course. So anything will be of interest to start with, and then we'll just have to go from there. But there was no, I couldn't find like any platform where we know what you want.
You can send us an email with your question, so we are going to look for what you want, and we will answer your email. I think it's easier if you send us an email.
Yep.
Okay.
That's okay. I think I have Mafalda's email because you were at another seminar last week with
Yes, do you have the presentation, Lena?
Yeah,
because
I think I do.
Our presentation, they have some contacts from vet schools.
Len, you have a message for you on the chat, so I think it's going well for you.
Okay.
It's working as a matchmaking.
Yes, that's matchmaking. Well, thank you. I will send you an email anyway. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Frank, you want to say something?
Yes, and then if Rita Patarra after Frank would like to speak, would give some kind, is also really good.
Yeah, I would just like to say to Lena that similar to what I said in the presentation, of course it's fine, and I understand the time is short, but if you have some of your schools could try to sort of think what kind of projects would they prefer to be interested in, prefer to be included in, and maybe give some kind of indication. I think that would enhance the probability that you would actually find somebody in Portugal if that was possible. Not just saying we are a school, we are willing to listen, but to say, okay, what we would like to do is so and so, and what we would not like to do is so and so. So if that's possible, I think that would be a great opportunity, you know, if you contact Portuguese institutions saying, okay, this is kind of the things that we would like to see, and this is what we are maybe able to participate in.
That shouldn't be a problem at all. So
that's fine. That's good.
But could we also use DQ
of course
to do this? Yeah.
We want to be used.
I know that. I use you a lot.
Yeah.
Not in the EEA grant, but yeah.
And Lena, you also have another interaction from, so you have you have. So
I've started something here.
Yes, of course.
Yes.
This is also a reason for this webinar. It's not only for the clarifications for the practical issues regarding the calls and the applications to submit, but also to help. This is the reason we bring DQs, and we invite other persons from entities from Norway and Iceland to be present here. This could be a first step.
Yes. Thanks.
Okay, Rita, I don't know if you want to say something. Rita Patarra?
Hello?
Hi, Rita. I don't know if you want to say something about.
Hello, good afternoon to all.
Hi there.
Hello. I just left my contact details in the chat, so we could talk, Marie. Okay?
That sounds good.
Okay, thank you.
Let's continue. Gonzalo Zhang, you have another question?
Oh, yeah, sorry, I forgot to ask. When you mentioned earlier that there is a training on jobs call expected to open next year, and I wanted to ask if you already have a timeline or specific dates for when it's going to go, when it's going to open.
Yes, it is scheduled to be open in May next year, and it should be open for at least 2 months.
All right. Okay. Also, sorry, another question that as I was reviewing the whole webinar, you mentioned early on that there could be projects that encompass from schools to universities. And I was wondering what kind of projects would fit on schools for, let's say, schools that are teaching children. I was a bit confused because when I read the call topic, I wasn't really thinking that this would be a group that would fit within the call parameters. So I'm not sure. Can you clarify a bit?
I'm sorry. Could you? I didn't understand your doubts. It's regarding.
Yeah. What I'm asking is what type of projects would fit in this call that are for schools.
Well,
for instance,
for schools instead of a high-level education.
Yeah,
okay.
Exactly.
So, well, you have, for instance, a school in sailing. That's an example.
Sorry, can you repeat this?
In sailing, we can have a project that for a school.
For instance, you can develop a program, a summer school. You don't have to could do this in a more elementary school, and this could be an how should I say it? It's not between the official program, but it could also be part of a module of a new program in a secondary school, for instance, or as extracurricular school program.
That's what I was thinking. If let's say I was just trying to picture some projects that could fit in this. Let's say I have extracurricular activities where elementary school students go and learn about the biosphere in beaches or places things that are related to the sea conservation and the preservation of sea biospheres, for instance. Would this be something that would fit within this call objectives?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay.
The call is very wide, Gonçalo. So it ranges from elementary school to high school, to higher education, and tries to cover all the types of formal education that we might have. So
okay, nice. Thank you, because previously I wasn't really looking at this area, and because you mentioned earlier for schools, this opens some interesting possibilities. All right, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I would just like to call attention that this call is, well, it is widely open, yes it is, but you need to have some regarding the, well, it's not it cannot be as we have been in the previous call of the, I don't know if you know, but we have a small grant scheme call regarding, for instance, ocean literacy, or incentive the nautical sports schools in the school are also. It is more. It is not like this. So you must be focused that you need to have, bearing in mind you are in the training and education area. So
it's just mostly aimed at professionals, either training new professionals or training professionals who provide education. Correct?
Yes.
Right. Very well. No, it's still interesting. Thank you.
I hope so.
You're welcome. Katerina Lems, you lowered your hand. I don't know if you want to put a question anyway.
No, thanks. I think it's solved.
Okay. We have a question from Claudia Faustino.
Yes, hello.
Hello.
I can turn the camera on as well. I can put a face to me. Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you as well. It's been said, but thank you for this session and for the clarifications you've been providing through email. You've answered 2 of my emails, so I thank you for that. And I take this opportunity to reiterate a question that I had made, and something that's been spoken of maybe 5-10 minutes ago about the certification of the courses and the question of the ECTSs. So I did try to seek clarification about each of the project types, because what we're engaged with here where I am, we're a small NGO. It's a type of training that kind of ticks quite a few boxes. It has characteristics of several of the types of project that you mentioned. Mm-hmm. So I did ask specifically about the ECTSs. We're also in a position where we're not yet granting training with ECTSs for Portugal. Mm-hmm. So I guess under this respect, we could not really provide, we could not really offer those ECTSs as an outcome. But when you're talking about internships, could you clarify if this does not require ECTS equivalent? So am I making sense?
If the internships do not need to be a part of a master or PhD,
yeah,
that provides an ECTS. Or
sorry, so you're asking me a question?
So, internships. I don't know if I understood your question, Claudia.
Okay.
So,
can I rephrase my question?
Please.
Perhaps it's easier. Okay, thank you. So the question is with the ECTSs. Mm-hmm. Okay, so this is a measure for one type of project, perhaps, of your list. Mm-hmm. I am asking if it is a requirement for other types of projects under your list. For example, internships. Do they have to be? Does an outcome of an internship need to be measured in ECTSs? And as well, the summer schools. Do the outcomes of a summer school need to be in ECTSs?
No.
Is this
no.
Now
no. I understand your question. Sorry.
No.
Thank you.
All the thematic areas, well, the range of, they not you if you do not to be applied the ECTS. No. So you can have some kind of develop some initiatives or activities, and you don't need to fulfill this outcome or this indicator. Okay.
Okay. So we can say that we've trained, say, 10 students, but no need to mention the ECTS, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Can I take the opportunity to ask for the quick clarification as well about one of the documents? And perhaps this is an obvious question, but I was a bit lost. I see in the English document, we're required to present an updated certificate from the Commercial Registry Office, if legal person. Okay, and this then says private entities. Can I confirm with you that For an NGO, this does not apply.
Of course, we have. You please send us the document of your constitution.
Yes, so this one in particular does not apply. Perfect. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, Claudia.
Cheers.
Okay. So I think we don't have any more questions. Anyone wants to do a question? We have 5 more minutes, or 10, or 15. We are here to answer your questions. So we don't have any question. Any lower hands? Any raised hand? No. Oh, yes, we have. No, we don't.
It's yours.
It's mine. Yes, it is.
So we answer all the questions that we'll put in the chat. Is that so? No one's is waiting for an answer? No?
Some answers were repeated, so...
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, if you don't have it, it's okay. I hope this webinar was useful for you. For us was, because we also learned something with your questions and try to improve something. This is one way to join many people, to potential promoters, to have the similar questions, so it helps to clarify all of us. But of course, we will be waiting for more questions, clarifications throughout our email, the grants email from DGPM, or by phone, of course. And I used to put a question in the end of the webinar because we have here a range section with lots of participants. But I would like to, well, we only have 32 now, so many of people already is gone. But if you would like to write in the chat if you are at this moment already preparing application for this call. For us, it will be interesting to understand your interest, and if you are already, because as we said, it's last of the month, the deadline. So if you'd like to write in the chat if you are if you will apply, you are preparing an application for this call. Thank you.
I would also to add something. It was I was very pleased that this webinar for clearing doubts also managed to match make some of the participants, and that was a really nice outcome of the webinar.
Yes. I also would like to, in the name of the DGPM and all of us, the participation of the Frank New, with all your expertise and knowledge and supporting us from the beginning of our program. It was very kind of you. Thank you very much.
We have several messages, so will be a great call, I think.
Yes.
Okay, you have we have Sisimar, of course.
Okay.
Okay, thank you for your participation. You can always send us an email, like Sandra said, so, and we will answer the questions that you have. Don't worry about it. We'll have what, 1-2 days to answer your questions. We will be fast answering that. Universidade de Coimbra, ok, Mútua dos Pescadores.
Okay. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
And bye-bye.
Bye-bye. See you on next webinar.
Yes.